Hi, in this video, I will be covering rules 6 to 10 of the subject and verb agreement. Let me begin with rule number 6. Rule number 6 says, when the sentence starts with there or here, the subject will always be placed after the verb. So care needs to be taken to identify it and make it agree with the verb. In the previous rules that we learned, our subjects were coming first and then they were followed by the verb. In this case, our subject comes after the verb. Why so? Because our sentences begin with there or here. So when you have here or there beginning your sentences, your verb comes first. So for example, there is a problem with the balance sheet. In the sentence, our real subject is a problem, not there, although there occupies the subject position. Now notice, our subject is a problem, singular. That is why we have the verb is. Because whether our subject comes first or comes after the verb, it will agree with the verb, which means that if it is singular, then it will need a singular verb. If it is plural, then it will need a plural verb. Take a look at example number 2. Here are the papers you requested. Notice that our sentence beginning with the word here, and it's followed by a verb are. Why are we using are and not is? Because our real subject is the papers, which is plural. So therefore, it's plural verb. Okay, so that's rule number 6. Moving on, we go to rule number 7. It says, subjects do not always come before verbs in questions. Make sure you accurately identify the subjects before deciding on the proper verb form to use. Recall also that when we have questions, our verbs come first. So it's kind of similar to rule number 6, wherein the similarity lies in the verb coming first. Okay? So when you have a question, your verb comes first. For example, in this sentence, does Lefty usually eat grass? Notice that our sentence is beginning with the word does, which is a verb. Okay? Then it is followed by the subject Lefty. Now we are using the verb does, which is singular, because our subject is Lefty. So even if Lefty comes after the verb, still it has to agree with the verb. Okay? So Lefty is singular, does is singular. So we have an agreement here of subject and verb agreement. Okay? So let's take example number 2. Where are the pieces of the puzzle? In this example, our sentence begins with where, or our question begins with the word where. It's a question word. And then it's followed by the verb are. Why are we using are? Because our subject here in this sentence is the pieces, which is, we are now on the 8th rule. Okay, 8A. Compound subjects joined by and normally require plural verbs first of. What do we mean by compounds? When we say compound subjects, we mean that there are 2 or more subjects, not just one. So, if you have 2 or more subjects, or your conjunction is the word and, then those subjects will be requiring plural verbs, or those words, those subjects will be requiring a plural verb if you only have one sentence. For example, his coat and cap are lying on the bed. In this sentence, you have 2 subjects, his coat and cap. We have a connector and connecting his coat and then cap. So, since you have a compound subject, then you need a plural verb. That's why we are using are lying on the bed. Another example. a horse and a carabao are in the pasture. In this sentence, you have two subjects, a horse and a carabao. So, they are plural, therefore you need the plural verb are and not is. Finally, you have the cow and the pig are jumping over the moon. So again here in the sentence, two subjects, or we say we have a compound subjects, the cow and the pig. Plural, therefore we need the verb are jumping, not is jumping. Okay? We're now on 8b. Rule 8b says the verb is singular if the two subjects joined by and refer to the same person or thing. So our understanding here is, in your sentence, you have a compound subject because you have two subjects joined by and. But these compound subjects are not taken plurally because these two subjects joined by and are referring to one person or thing, and therefore they become singular. Why so? Because if you take one from the other, it would not mean completely that thing. So let me cite an example here. Red beans and rice is my mom's favorite dish. I repeat, red beans and rice is my mom's favorite dish. Notice in the illustration I made, red beans and rice, both words, both subjects, are pointing to dish. So you cannot take one from the other for them to mean a dish. So, for example, you cannot take rice from red beans for them to mean dish. For the thing to mean a dish, they have to go together. So red beans and rice must go together to mean a dish. So in this case, we need to use only a singular verb even if we have a compound subject. Okay? Another example. Bread and butter is my breakfast. Here, bread and butter are referring to breakfast. You cannot take one from the other to mean breakfast. So you cannot just say, I had butter for breakfast. No? You have to have bread and butter, no, for breakfast. So they go together. So even if you have two subjects here, your verb is singular because bread and butter need to be combined to mean breakfast. So that is what we meant by the verb is singular if the two subjects joined by and refer to the same person or thing. So that's Rule 8b. We now come to Rule 8c. It says, the verb is singular if the two subjects joined by and are preceded by each or every. Again, we have a compound subject here because we have two subjects joined by and, joined by the connector and. But the case here is, you have a compound subject joined by and, but these two subjects are preceded by either each or every. So, when that happens, when each or every comes before your compound subject now will be reduced to singular, and therefore it will need a singular verb. Take a look at this example. Each man and woman has rights. Notice that we have two nouns here, man and woman, connected by the conjunction and. But notice also that both compound subjects are preceded by each. And therefore, Rule 8c says, if each and every would precede your compound subject becomes singular, and therefore it will need a singular verb. One more example. Every nook and cranny is checked. We have here two subjects, nook and cranny, joined by the conjunction and. However, both words are preceded by the word every, and therefore your compound subjects now are reduced to singular because of the word every preceding them. And therefore, your verb needs to be singular. So our verb is checked. Okay? Finally, every man and woman is required to check in. Again, you have a compound subject there, man and woman. Okay? Man, woman, connected by N. But they are preceded by the word every, and therefore, they will be reduced to singular. And therefore, a singular verb is needed. Okay? We go now to rule number 9. Rule number 9 says, the expression, the number, is singular and must take a singular verb, while the expression, a number, is plural and needs a plural verb. So remember, the number, singular. A number, plural. We have examples here. A good number of people joined the rally against the Marcos burial. A good number, or a number as an expression, is our subject. Okay? And recall that in rule number 9, a number is plural. Therefore, we say, a good number of people join. Join is a plural verb. So it is matching with a number, which is a plural expression. Second example. The number of people joining the rally is increasing. Here we have our subject, the number. Go back to rule number 9. It says, the expression, the number, is singular. And therefore, it will need a singular verb. So going back to our example, the number of people joining the rally is increasing. So we have the verb is because our expression is the number. Okay? So remember, the number singular, a number plural. Okay? Rule number 10. The pronoun you, even if it refers to one person, requires a plural verb. Now, take note. This pronoun you can be singular or plural. If it means one person, then singular. If it means many, then plural. Okay? Now, so even if you are referring only to one person, meaning singular, but since you are using the pronoun you, the verb needed for the pronoun you must be plural. For example, Mary, you were there last night. So, you are referring to Mary and then you substituted Mary to you, no? So, that's why you are using were, not was. Even if you are referring to Mary, one person, okay? But, again, remember rule number 10. The pronoun you, even if it refers to one person, requires a plural verb. One more example. Peter, are you going? You're referring to Peter. And then you substitute the pronoun you to mean Peter. But you are, even if you referring to Peter is singular, I mean, even if you is referring to Peter, okay, which is singular or which is one person, your verb needed there is still plural because of the you. Alright? Okay. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Yes, don't forget to hit that tiny bell so you will be notified of my next video. See you in my next video, guys. Bye!